There's a notebook on my desk that doesn't exist yet. I'm staring at it right now. Blue cover, soft spine, no name on the front. And my hands won't stop shaking because the last time I saw this notebook, it was soaked in rain and blood on the asphalt outside the east gate of Sakuraba High, and a girl I barely knew was lying next to it with her eyes half open and her fingers still reaching toward me. That was 3 weeks from now. Or 2 years ago, or never, depending on how you count time when you've already lived through the day you die and woken up 14 months before it happened. My name is Haruto Kitagawa, and I'm 16 years old for the second time. The date on my phone says April 7th, first day of second year, cherry blossoms, shoe lockers, morning assembly. Everything exactly as it was the first time. Same homeroom. Same seat by the window, same afternoon light slanting across the classroom floor. And 3 rows ahead of me, in the seat closest to the wall, a girl with dark hair and downcast eyes is arranging her pencils in a neat line on her desk, and she has no idea that in the timeline I came from, she threw herself in front of a truck to push me out of its path, and I didn't even know her last name when she did it. Her name is Chihiro Nasuno. I need to tell you what happened the first time. Not all of it, just the parts that matter. The parts I got wrong, which, looking back, was almost everything. The first time through second year, I was obsessed with Aiko Shinomiya, the school idol. That's not an exaggeration. She was literally the most popular girl in our year, maybe in the entire school. Vice president of the student council. A lead in the drama club's autumn play. The kind of face that made boys trip over their own feet in the hallway. She had this laugh, bright and deliberate, like she knew people were listening and she was giving them exactly what they wanted to hear. I spent the entire first timeline trying to get close to her. I joined the drama club as a stagehand because she was the lead. I volunteered for the cultural festival committee because she was on it. I rearranged my entire schedule, my friendships, my attention, my energy, everything, around the possibility that Aiko Shinomiya might notice me. She did notice me, eventually. Not the way I wanted. She noticed me the way you notice a persistent background noise, aware of it, mildly annoyed by it, occasionally acknowledging it so it would quiet down. She was never cruel. That's the thing I want to be clear about. Aiko wasn't a villain. She was a teenage girl who was beautiful and knew it, and was navigating the bizarre social ecosystem that builds up around someone like that. She didn't owe me anything. She didn't lead me on. I led myself on, and I called it hope. While I was doing that, Chihiro was sitting 3 rows ahead of me, quiet as a held breath, and I didn't see her at all. Not metaphorically. I mean, I literally did not register her as a person. She was part of the furniture of the classroom, present, silent, taking up space I never looked at. She had no social presence. She didn't speak unless called on. She ate lunch alone on the rooftop stairwell, which I know now but didn't know then, because I ate lunch with the drama club near Aiko, always near Aiko. In the first timeline, I learned Chihiro's name in October, 5 months after school started. And I only learned it because the teacher read it off a class list during a group assignment, and I thought, I've never heard that name before. She was sitting right in front of me. I need you to hold that detail. I need you to carry it through everything I'm about to tell you, because it's the thing that breaks me every time I think about it. 5 months. She sat 3 rows away for 5 months, and I didn't know her name. Now let me tell you what I've learned since waking up back here. What I've been piecing together day by day in this second timeline where I've decided that the only thing that matters is seeing her clearly. April 7th, first day back. I walked into homeroom, and the moment I saw her, pencils in a line, eyes on the desk, and hair falling forward like a curtain she was hiding behind, my chest seized so hard I had to grab the doorframe, because the last image I had of her was rain and blood and those eyes going still. And now here she was, alive, breathing, arranging pencils, completely unaware that somewhere in a future that hasn't happened yet, she dies on wet asphalt saving a boy who didn't deserve it. I sat down. I didn't speak to her. I couldn't. My voice wouldn't work. I spent the entire first day watching her from my seat, and I noticed things I'd never noticed the first time around. She writes left-handed, but she holds her pen in a way that curls her wrist inward, like she trained herself to avoid smudging the ink. When the teacher makes a joke, she smiles, but only after checking to see if anyone is watching her, and only if they're not. And she keeps a small thermos of tea in her bag, not water, and she takes exactly 2 sips between classes. When the bell rings, she waits for everyone else to stand up before she moves. She makes herself small, deliberately, systematically, like she spent years practicing how to take up the least possible space in a room. I saw none of this the first time. I was looking at Aiko. The second thing I noticed, April 9th, third day of school, was the notebook. The blue one. She carried it everywhere, separate from her school materials, tucked inside her bag's inner pocket. She never opened it in class. She never wrote in it when anyone could see. But once, when she thought the hallway was empty, I was around the corner heading back from the vending machine. I saw her lean against the wall, open it, and write something fast and urgent. More like she was afraid the thought would evaporate if she didn't catch it in time. Then she closed it, pressed it against her chest, and exhaled, like relief, like prayer. In the first timeline, I never saw her hold that notebook. Not as. In the first timeline, the only time I saw that notebook was when it was lying on the street next to her body. I'm going to tell you what I did differently this time, but I need to tell you something else first. Something about the first timeline that I didn't fully understand until I was reliving it from the outside. In the original second year, there were exactly 4 moments where Chihiro Nasuno tried to reach me. 4 moments where she stepped outside her invisible perimeter and made contact. I missed every single one. The first was in May. And I'd been rejected from the drama club's backstage crew. They had too many volunteers, and I wasn't experienced enough. I sat in the courtyard after school, furious, humiliated, replaying the coordinator's words. Someone sat down on the bench across from me. I didn't look up. After about 30 seconds, a small wrapped onigiri appeared on the bench beside me. I glanced at it, assumed someone left it behind, and ignored it. When I finally looked up, no one was there. In this second timeline, I sat in the same courtyard on the same day. I'd let the drama club rejection happen exactly as before. Changing the broad events felt dangerous, and I wasn't sure what was safe to alter. But this time, I watched, and I saw Chihiro come out of the east stairwell, walk across the courtyard with her head down. Now place the onigiri on the bench beside me with trembling fingers, and retreat so quickly she almost tripped on the walkway lip. She'd made it herself. The wrapping had a small piece of tape with a handwritten label, Kelp Filling. Her handwriting was tiny and careful and shaking. I picked it up before she was gone. "Hey," I said. She froze, turned. Her eyes were so wide they looked like they belonged to a different species, one that expected every loud sound to be a predator. "Thank you," I said. "Kelp's my favorite." "It isn't. I don't even particularly like kelp, but the look on her face, the way her cheeks flushed and her lips pressed together and she nodded once fast like a bird dipping its beak into water, told me it was the right thing to say. She left without a word. But the next morning, there was another onigiri on my desk before I arrived. Tuna this time, same tiny handwriting, same trembling tape. In the first timeline, this never happened. Because in the first timeline, I never picked up the onigiri, and she never tried again. One small thing. One moment of being seen. That's all it took to open a door she'd been standing behind for God knows how long. The second moment she'd tried to reach me, originally in June, was a note. In the first timeline, I found a folded piece of paper in my shoe locker and assumed it was a prank or a misdirected confession meant for someone else. I threw it away without reading it. In this timeline, I opened it. It said, "The sunset from the 4th floor landing is really beautiful around 5:30. I go there sometimes after everyone leaves. You don't have to come, but you could." I went. She was there, standing by the window, backlit by orange light, holding her blue notebook against her side. She startled when she heard my footsteps, and for a second I thought she might actually run. But she didn't. She stayed, and we stood at that window together for about 10 minutes without saying anything, watching the sky turn from gold to pink to a deep, bruised violet. Then she said, so quietly, I almost didn't hear, "I come here because it's the only time the school feels like it belongs to me." I didn't respond right away. I let the sentence exist. Then I said, "It's a good spot." She looked at me, and the expression on her face, I've thought about it every day since. It wasn't gratitude. It wasn't relief. It was disbelief. Pure, undiluted disbelief. Like someone who'd sent a message in a bottle every day for a year and had accepted that the ocean swallowed them all, and then, one afternoon, someone showed up on her shore holding one and saying, "I got this." We started meeting at the 4th floor landing after school. Not every day, maybe twice a week, sometimes 3 times. She never suggested it outright. She'd just be there, and I'd just show up, and we'd watch the sky and sometimes talk and sometimes not. I learned things about her in fragments, and she liked astronomy but was too shy to join the science club. She read constantly, thick novels she hid inside textbook covers so no one would notice. Her favorite season was autumn because everything is allowed to let go. She had a younger brother who was loud and social and everything she wasn't. And she loved him so fiercely that the one time she talked about him, her voice changed entirely, warmer, faster, like a window thrown open in a stuffy room. She never asked about Aiko, not once. In the first timeline, I was still chasing Aiko through all of this, attending club events, engineering coincidental hallway encounters, interpreting every polite smile as a signal. In this timeline, I let Aiko pass through my life like scenery. She was still there, still beautiful, still magnetic. But when I looked at her, all I could feel was the gravitational pull of the enormous mistake I'd already made once. The mistake of staring at the sun so hard, I went blind to the person standing quietly beside me in the shade. July. Summer break was approaching. In the first timeline, this was when the third moment happened, the one I mishandled the worst. The class was assigned a group project. Random pairings. I was put with Chihiro. In the first timeline, I was annoyed. I barely knew her. She didn't talk, and I wanted to be paired with someone from Aiko's circle so I'd have an excuse to spend time near her. I did the bare minimum, let Chihiro handle most of the work, and submitted it with both our names. I don't think I spoke to her more than twice during the entire project. She got a perfect score. The teacher complimented our research. I said thanks and forgot about it. In this timeline, I worked on it with her. Really worked. We met in the library after school, and for the first time, I saw what happened when Chihiro Nasuno felt safe enough to care about something in front of another person. She was brilliant. Not in the flashy, hand-raising way that gets you noticed, in the deep, quiet, meticulous way that gets you ignored. She'd read the source material 3 times before I'd finished it once. She caught errors in the textbook, actual errors, and cross-referenced them with library additions. She built an argument structure so clean it read like architecture. And when she talked about the subject, really talked, not her usual whispered half-sentences, her voice steadied. Her posture straightened, her eyes lifted. She became someone entirely different, someone who had been there all along, underneath the silence, waiting to exist. At one point, I said, "You're the smartest person I've ever worked with." She froze, pen mid-stroke. Then she looked at me with an expression that I can only describe as wounded. Not hurt by the compliment, hurt that it surprised her so much. "People don't usually notice," she said. "I know. I'm sorry." She didn't ask what I was sorry for, but something shifted between us after that day. The meetings at the 4th-floor landing became longer. She started showing me things in the blue notebook. Not the words, not yet, but small sketches she'd done in the margins. A cat sleeping on a wall, a cloud shaped like a whale, a tiny detailed drawing of the school gate at dusk with one figure standing just outside it, looking back. "Who's that?" I asked. She closed the notebook. "No one." It was me. I knew it was me. But I didn't push. September, the cultural festival. In the first timeline, this was the 4th moment, the last time Chihiro Nasuno tried to reach me before she stopped trying altogether. There was a courage test event in the old gymnasium. Chihiro had been asked to help set up the route. She'd volunteered, which was apparently so out of character that the class rep had double-checked the sign-up sheet. The event ran after dark. Partners walked through the course together. In the first timeline, Chihiro approached me in the corridor before the event. She was trembling. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again, and said something I couldn't hear over the hallway noise. I said, "Sorry, what?" And she shook her head, said, "Never mind," and walked away. 30 seconds later, Aiko passed by with her friends, and I followed them to the drama club's cafe event instead. I never learned what Chihiro was trying to say. In this timeline, the festival arrived exactly on schedule. Same decorations, same noise, same smell of yakisoba and sugar. And in the same corridor at the same time, Chihiro appeared, trembling, mouth opening and closing. Every cell of her body fighting against the act of being visible. This time, I stepped closer. I leaned in, and I heard her say in the smallest voice, "Would you walk through the course with me?" "Yeah," I said. "I'd like that." The courage test was silly. Fake cobwebs, a second year in a sheet going woo behind a curtain. Chihiro grabbed my sleeve at the first jump scare and didn't let go for the entire course. At one point, a strobe light flickered and she pressed her face into my arm, and I felt her heart hammering so fast it was almost vibrating. When we came out the other side, she was flushed and embarrassed and trying to compose herself. "Sorry," she said. That was great. You want to do it again?" She stared at me. Then she laughed. A real, unguarded, startled laugh, the kind that escapes before you can catch it. It was the first time I'd ever heard her laugh. In the first timeline, I never heard it. Not once in the entire year. Autumn passed, then winter. We weren't dating. I need to be clear about that. We were something else, something that didn't have a name. I walked her partway home after school on days when we'd been at the landing. She lent me books with small sticky notes marking passages she thought I'd like. I saved her a seat at assemblies. She started saying good morning to me in homeroom, just 2 words, barely audible, but consistent, every single day. The blue notebook stayed private. I didn't push, but I started noticing that she wrote in it more when I was nearby. Not about me, I didn't know what she wrote, but the act of writing seemed easier for her when she wasn't alone, like my presence gave her permission to exist on paper. January, winter. And this is where I need to tell you what I haven't told you yet. In the first timeline, I didn't just fail to notice Chihiro. I failed in a specific, unforgivable way that I only understood after she was gone. In January of the first timeline, there was an incident. A group of girls from another class, friends of Aiko's, though Aiko herself wasn't involved, started targeting Chihiro. Nothing dramatic, nothing that would get reported. Just the kind of slow, surgical cruelty that teenagers specialize in. Moving her bag off her desk. Accidentally spilling water on her papers. Laughing just loudly enough when she walked past. Whispering things I couldn't hear, but she clearly could. Because I remember now that I'm looking, the way her shoulders tightened every time she passed that group in the hallway. I saw it. Back in the first timeline, I saw it. I just didn't process it as something that required me to act. It was background. It was someone else's problem. I was busy thinking about Aiko. In this timeline, I saw it start in early January. Same girls, same pattern. I watched it for one day. Then I walked up to Chihiro's desk the next morning in full view of the classroom and said, "Hey Chihiro, can you look over my notes from yesterday? You always catch the stuff I miss." It was nothing. A sentence. But I said it loudly, casually, like it was normal, like we were friends and everyone already knew it. A few heads turned. The group of girls glanced over. And from that point on, the dynamic shifted. Not because I was intimidating, but because Chihiro was no longer invisible. She had been seen. She had been claimed as someone's person. And the particular species of cruelty that feeds on isolation can't survive when the isolation breaks. She didn't thank me. She didn't mention it. But the next day, she left a note in my shoe locker. It said, "The cherry blossoms from the 4th floor landing bloom late because the building blocks the south wind. They're always the last ones in the school to open, but they last the longest." I read it 4 times. I still have it. February. This is where the first timeline ended. I need to be careful here. I need to tell you this exactly right. In the original timeline, on February 14th, Valentine's Day, I finally confessed to Aiko. I'd rehearsed it for weeks. I caught her after drama club, handed her a letter, and stood there with my heart trying to exit through my throat. She was kind about it. She said she was flattered. She said I was a good person. She said she didn't feel the same way. She said she hoped we could still be friends. It was the most graceful rejection a person could deliver, and it still felt like being dropped from a great height. I left the school building at dusk. It was raining. I wasn't paying attention. I was walking toward the east gate with my head down, replaying every word, dissecting every syllable, drowning in my own self-pity. I didn't see the delivery truck. I didn't hear it. It had run a light at the intersection just past the gate. I stepped off the curb, and then someone hit me from the side. Not the truck, a person. A small, fast body slamming into mine from the left, knocking me backward onto the pavement. I hit the ground hard, rolled, looked up. Chihiro was in the road. The truck couldn't stop in time. But I remember rain. I remember the sound. Not the impact, the silence after it. The impossible, roaring silence that filled the street. I remember crawling toward her on wet asphalt. I remember the blue notebook thrown from her bag lying open in a puddle. I remember her eyes, half open, looking at me, not with pain, not with fear, with something else. something that looked impossibly like peace. She was still breathing when the ambulance came. She died at the hospital 40 minutes later. I lived because she saw the truck, because she was behind me, following me, watching me, making sure I was okay after a confession she probably knew I was going to make to someone else, because even on the day I chose Aiko, she chose me. The notebook was recovered from the scene. Her family gave it to me 2 weeks later. Her mother, small, quiet, the same eyes, handed it to me at the door and said, "She would have wanted you to have this. She wrote about you constantly." I opened it that night, and I read every page. It wasn't a diary, it was letters, hundreds of them, all addressed to me, all unsent. "Dear Haruto, you look tired today. I hope you slept. Dear Haruto, you laughed in the hallway and I heard it from the stairwell and it made the whole afternoon better. Dear Haruto, I know you like Shinomiya-san. That's okay. She's wonderful. I just hope someone makes you that happy someday, even if it's not me. Dear Haruto, I think I'm invisible, but when you're in the room, I don't mind as much, because at least I'm invisible near you." Page after page, months of them. A whole interior life aimed at someone who didn't know it existed. I read the last entry. Dated February 14th, written that morning before school. Dear Haruto, today you're going to tell her I can see it in the way you've been walking this week. Faster, more nervous, checking your bag for the letter you think no one knows about. I know it's there. I know what today is. I hope she says yes. I hope she makes you so happy that you never have a reason to be sad again. And if she doesn't, if today hurts you, I'll be nearby. I'm always nearby. You just never look. I closed the notebook. And then I died. Not physically. Something inside me collapsed so completely that the person I was before that moment stopped existing. I spent the rest of that year hollow. I graduated. I went through motions. I looked at the notebook every night and felt the weight of a life I'd failed to witness pressing down on me until I couldn't breathe. And then one morning, I woke up, and it was April 7th, second year. Cherry blossoms, shoe lockers, a phone that said a date 14 months in the past. I don't know why I was sent back. I don't know if it's divine intervention, a glitch in reality, a dying hallucination, or something else. I don't care. I'm here. She's alive. And this time, I see her. It's February now. The second timeline's February. Everything is different. Chihiro has friends, not many, but real ones. A first year from the astronomy club who adores her. A librarian who saves books for her. Me. She speaks in full sentences now, sometimes even loudly. She read one of her notebook entries out loud to me last week. Not one of the letters to me, but a short piece she wrote about the sky, about how the atmosphere isn't really blue. It just scatters the light in a way that makes it look that way. And how she thinks people are like that too. You don't see their real color. You see whatever angle the light hits. I told her it was beautiful. She went red to the tips of her ears and said, "It's just science." Valentine's Day is in 3 days. I'm not confessing to Aiko. I was never going to, but I'm terrified. Because the truck still exists. The intersection still exists. February 14th still exists. And I don't know if saving Chihiro from the bullying, from the invisibility, from the loneliness, I don't know if that changes the geometry of that evening enough to keep her off that road. So here's what I'm going to do. On February 14th, I'm going to find her before she leaves school. I'm going to hand her something I've been working on for a month. A notebook. Blue cover. A soft spine, no name on the front. Inside, there are letters, addressed to her, one for every week since April. Dear Chihiro, you arranged your pencils in a straight line today, and I thought it was the most careful thing I'd ever seen a person do. Dear Chihiro, you smiled after the teacher's joke, but only because no one was watching. I was watching. Dear Chihiro, you're not invisible. You never were. I was just looking in the wrong direction. I'm going to hand it to her, and then I'm going to walk her home myself, a different route, away from the east gate, away from the intersection, away from the rain and the truck and the timeline where she dies for someone who didn't know her name until October. I don't know if it will work. I don't know if the universe has a fixed point that can't be moved. I don't know if February 14th takes her no matter what, but I know this. In the first life, Chihiro Nasuno loved me so quietly that I never heard it, and she died with that silence still unbroken. In this life, I'm going to hear her. even if I have to be the one who speaks first. The notebook is on my desk. The ink is dry. The cherry blossoms on the fourth floor haven't bloomed yet, but they will. They're always the last ones, and they last the longest.